Is Ben Simmons finally, truly back? Probably not, but we'll take a look at the situation the Nets find themselves in with the former superstar. But first, Cam Johnson. Is he going to finish this season on the Nets, or is he going to get traded? Most likely the latter, but here's what GM Sean Marks had to say about Cam Johnson. He said, Cam and I had multiple conversations. He's a true professional. I can be very open with him. Whatever role there is, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. This is what Cam Johnson said. That's where it lies. None of these guys are ever going to be surprised by a change in direction from me. So Sean Marks is asked about Cam Johnson's future with the Nets. And he says, we had a bunch of conversations. He's a professional, and I can be open with him. He did not say, yeah, he's going to stay long-term. We want him to be around forever. We want him to be a Net for a long, long time. No, because everybody knows what the situation is with the Brooklyn Nets and that they are going to move on from Cam Johnson as well as a whole host of other guys. And here's the thing. This is fantastic. Nets fans should be going wild right now, should be celebrating what the Nets have done. They've given this team a future that they did not have just a few months ago. The Mikal Bridges trade has reset things for the Brooklyn Nets, and now they've got a task ahead of them. It doesn't involve winning a lot of basketball games, I can tell you that, but they're going to be able to take this team and turn it into something for the future. And part of that is going to be getting a nice high draft pick in this year's NBA draft, and that's going to require losing a lot of basketball games. But they're not done yet. Because look at some of the names on this roster, including Cam Johnson, who I really want to get into here. But look at some of the names on this roster. Ben Simmons, we're going to talk about him in just a minute. Cam Johnson, Bojan Bogdanovic, Dorian Finney-Smith, Dennis Schroeder. Given the current direction of the Brooklyn Nets, there is no reason for any of those guys to be on this team after the trade deadline. Now, is it likely they're truly going to ship out all of them? Probably not. That's a lot of trading to get done. But like I said, Sean Marks has his work cut out for him. This team is building for the future. At the very least, the guys that are on expiring contracts should be moved. When I'm looking at a guy like Dennis Schroeder, expiring contract, he's probably not going to stay in Brooklyn through a rebuild, not at 31 years old. You need to move on from him. Dorian Finney-Smith has a player option for next year. I think he probably picks it up, but if you can find the right deal, move him, especially at 31 years old. As a 3-and-D wing, there'll probably be some decent interest. Bojan Bogdanovic, oh my goodness. I mean, he's 35 years old. He should not be on this roster. I know he's still recovering from injuries and such, but if they can find an opportunity to move on from him, even just as an expiring, they should move him. And you know what, Cam Johnson, we may see him as a younger player, but he came into the NBA a little bit older than most rookies, 28 years old. Probably, if the right opportunity comes along, you need to move on from him as well. So let's take a look at that a bit closer, because that's the guy, Cam Johnson, that we've heard the most rumors about over the summer, about teams being interested in trading for him. So Cam Johnson, last season, solid basketball player, solid wing. A lot of teams looking for wing players, especially wings that can shoot the three. Cam Johnson can do that. 39% from three last season, 39% for his career. This guy can shoot the ball. He's lanky, long. Is he a great defensive player? Not really, but he's okay. He can be passable in some moments. Sometimes he can have some decent possessions where he comes from the weak side. He's got a pretty long wingspan. He can block a shot, something like that. But what he can give you is plenty of floor spacing from the wing position, can play a little bit of four for you, can play a little bit at the three, and give you some of that production out on the perimeter, spacing the floor and shooting the ball. And then on top of that, when you look at his contract, it's not a bad deal, especially in today's NBA. Think it's pretty movable. $23.6 million this season, drops down next season to 21.5, and then back up to 23.6. So only 3 years under contract. It'll be 31 by the time that's done. That's not a bad deal. The only problem is, as Sean Marks pretty strongly hinted, that, hey, yeah, we're not hell-bent on keeping him or anything like that. The problem is the Nets right now, their asking price clearly has not been met. They would like significant return for guys like Cam Johnson. And you know what? Look, heading into the trade deadline in February, maybe then they'll have to come down off their asking prices. But right now, why do it? There's no urgency. They're going to lose plenty of games with the roster as is. They don't have to move any of these players. But I do think teams are going to be knocking on their door. And Cam Johnson, very clearly, Sean Marks is not saying he's going to be a Net for life. clearly Sean Marks, his doors are open for business, and I think the Nets have a lot of moves coming up. Does one of those moves, though, include Ben Simmons? I'm so disappointed in Ben Simmons. I'm so disappointed in what he's become. Look, in 2016 in the NBA draft, he was phenomenal. He was amazing. He was the guy. He was him. Ben Simmons was the next big thing.
Hey, LeBron, Ben Simmons is here. We're all good. But when I watch Ben Simmons play, it is just a gut feeling. That is something between LeBron and Magic. I felt the same way when I saw Magic break in. I felt the same way when LeBron broke in. I didn't even feel it for Kobe. I feel that strongly with Ben Simmons.
And since then, things have just gone downhill to the point where now I don't even know if a team would take him. But this was Sean Marks on Ben Simmons. For what we've seen so far with Ben, he's a full go for camp, which for us, that's exciting to see. And for him, he's champing at the bit to be able to get out and contribute. So this is big. This is a big year for him. Yeah, it's a big year for him. Because look, it's his last year under contract. If we're ever going to see Ben Simmons become the Ben Simmons of old once again, this is it. It's do or die. He doesn't have a contract next year. He needs to produce. He needs to show that he's still an NBA basketball player. Now, for the Brooklyn Nets, are they going to be able to flip him and turn him into some type of value? Remember, this is the guy they traded James Harden for. Now, that was a bit under duress, but still, are they going to be able to turn him into anything of value? Probably. I mean, he would have to come back and look like he was during his Sixers days. And I want to take a look at what that looks like in just a moment. But most likely, their best use for Ben Simmons is as a $40.3 million expiring contract. Now, it wouldn't hurt if Ben was on the floor and playing and doing some stuff for the team. But right now, his biggest value, given how far he has fallen, it's as a $40.3 million expiring contract, which should still have value to a Nets team that's rebuilding. They can take on some bad salary in exchange for a hefty payment in terms of draft capital coming their way, and they can give another team a get-out-of-jail-free card in terms of future salary on their books by way of Ben Simmons' expiring contract. Now, Ben Simmons, at one point, as I said, this guy was the next big thing in the NBA, and this is why just talking about him as an expiring contract is so disappointing. But look at this. Ben Simmons, last season, played 15 games. The season before that, played 42 games. The season before that, did not play. Talk about a fall from grace. He's 28 years old. He should be in his prime right now. Ben Simmons should be destroying people right now in the NBA. You look at this. We're not that far removed from him being first team all defense. 2016, he was the rookie of the year. This guy's a 3-time All-Star. I know he's had back issues. I know there have been some mental health concerns, but this was a guy who's going to come in and be able to handle the ball like very few big players can, was going to have this insane feel for the passing game, rebounding. He really found his stride as a defender. You can still see it in his stats, even in the 15 games that he played. 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Not a lot of guys can do that, can put that combination of stats together. Now we've already started to see, once again, footage of Ben Simmons working out over the summer. And you know what's funny? The jumper looks great during summer workouts. It's become a markage of time, a way to mark the time. When the footage of Ben Simmons in training comes out, you know the NBA summer is coming to a close. This is this time of year. We always see Ben Simmons working out. Suddenly the jumper looks good. People get excited again. You know what? I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not going to get excited about Ben Simmons coming back anymore because we've been burned too many times thinking about what could have been with Ben Simmons. It would be great if he could get back on the floor and somehow, some way, he could recapture his former glory. And again, his back is against the wall. He's an expiring contract. If he plays 15 games again this coming season, I don't even know if he gets a contract at all next season. Right, man? We're talking about a veteran minimum. If he can't stay on the floor and he only plays 15 games or so again, who knows if an NBA team's even going to be interested. So if there's any glimmer of hope, any ember left burning for Ben Simmons in the NBA, it has to happen this season. It has to happen right now. I'm not going to hold my breath, but for Ben Simmons himself, the basketball player, this is his last chance. This is his last opportunity. And as Sean Marks says, he is a full go for camp. Let's hope that this is finally the time that we're going to see him stay healthy, stay on the floor, and get back to being a productive basketball player. And then the Nets, if he's productive on the court, they're probably going to trade him because they're going to use that contract in a deal. But this guy was the guy, the next big thing in the NBA for a few years there. And it's unfortunate to see where he's fallen to at this point. I hope, fingers crossed, the back stays healthy, the mental health is there, everything he needs is there to show that once again, he can be a really good NBA player. Again, at one point, this guy was one of the best defensive players in the NBA, just 28 years old. He should be in his prime. Come on, Ben. Let's make it all the way back. But like I said, I'm not going to hold my breath. Still, the Nets, exciting team. Terrible team. They're going to be awful this season, but Nets fans, that's okay. This team's future is so bright. And Sean Marks, that phone's going to be glued to his ear because this team is going to be wheeling and dealing. They've got a lot of moves they should make, whether they move on from Cam Johnson, Ben Simmons, guys they probably should move on from, but they've got others as well that should be on the market and should be moved by the time we hit the trade deadline. So the Nets are 100% a team to keep an eye on, and Sean Marks just confirmed Cam Johnson, probably not long for the team, and Ben Simmons, one last time maybe. He's a full go for camp, and we'll see where things go from here. But everybody, give me your thoughts in the comment section. I appreciate all of you who have been checking out the Basketball Bulletin over the last few days. You guys are phenomenal. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel as well. Till next time, everybody. See ya, and stay safe.